Now, Ben, I'm pretty confident I know what your reaction is going to be and what you're going to talk about. So I'm going to let you do that first, but then after you tell us what you're reacting to for the past week, I do have some questions for you, but I'll let you take the floor first.
Well, first, congratulations to your Vanderbilt
Thank
Commodores.
you,
They
man.
continue to roll. They got a big matchup down in Austin this
Oof,
Saturday.
goodness.
I know you, I have a feeling you're going to be watching that one as well.
I'll be there. Well, watching it, not be there, but
Of course, my reaction is centered around the events that unfolded in Baton Rouge and how quickly they unfolded.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's a knock on Southerners that they take a long time to act, but when
Yeah,
they do, it goes fast. And that's what happened in Baton Rouge. The Brian Kelly era came to an end a little less than, what, 4 years, I guess.
yeah,
His tenure did not meet the expectations. That was one
no,
of the things that LSU athletic director Scott Woodward said in the official statement about Brian Kelly's dismissal. They did not meet the expectations that had been set for the program, namely SEC championships and national championships. And Brian Kelly did not win an SEC championship. I think he won an SEC West title in his first year.
hmm,
No appearances in the playoffs. In fact, when you compare his first 4 years with his predecessors, he won less games and lost more games. In addition, each of his predecessors, Saban, Miles, and Orgeron, won SEC titles and national championships. So he was not able to do either one of those, unfortunately, because you want your coach to win. It benefits the program. But it came to a head early, I guess, Sunday when a meeting of Scott Woodward and some changes that the AD was telling him to make on the staff, and Kelly pushed back about some other changes he wanted to make, and it seemed to go downhill rather quickly after that. They're still working on his buyout. We don't know
right.
what's going to happen there, but I saw a source today that said there's no public money from the state is going to be used to fund his buyout. So if you see anybody posting, well, this money from education or hospitals or this or that are going to be used to pay this 53, 54 million, whatever it is, that's not going to happen. Plus, if Brian Kelly next year gets a job coaching or in media, that will that mitigation. It will take away from what LSU owes him. So there's a lot of moving parts there about him, but at the end of the day, he just didn't meet the expectations. I think that's the best way to put it. The loss to A&M Saturday night was the nail in the coffin.
Oh yeah,
Tiger Stadium emptied.
yeah.
It was a horrible performance, and from what I've been reading and listening to from different sports guys around Baton Rouge is that Brian Kelly lost the fan base. He lost the locker room, and it's hard to come back from that. He's you can't argue with his overall coaching record. It just never seemed that he was a good fit in Baton Rouge, and the results were not what everyone was looking for.
And I think it's an important thing because I think from the outside looking in, there will be a lot of people, especially Twitter basement dwellers, who who will take shots throughout this process at LSU for overreacting. He won 75% of his games, or whatever the number is. On, I think it's very very important. What you just laid out is what people talk about. He was brought there to take the program to a new level. He came there because he wanted national championships, and 4 years in, no playoff appearances, definitely not any prospect of a national championship, and he did not perform at the level of his predecessors, much less taking it to a next level. So everything that was the expectation, if you're not there 4 years in, are you going to be there at 6 years in? I mean, is it possible? Yeah, but is it realistic? No, it's not. So I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle that people need to be talking about. This was not a Baton Rouge Southern football overreaction. I think it was a very realistic reaction to where things were and what you can kind of forecast the future could be, with especially when you talk about things like losing the locker room. Some reports say he basically lost the athletics office, in addition to the fan base and the locker room. So if that's where you are, where are things going to go? There's nowhere to go but further downhill.
Yeah, I was talking to an Ohio State fan today who was asking me what's going on down there. You really got to understand the Louisiana culture. LSU is the biggest thing in this state
Absolutely.
by far, and so when the team doesn't do well, it impacts the entire state. And you don't want to pile on somebody when they get fired because he's a human being like the rest of
Hmm.
us. But you also have to recognize that this was the right decision at the
Absolutely.
end of the day. Sometimes we make bad decisions and we have to pay for them. In this case, it's dollar signs, but
Absolutely.
we've all done that in our lives. But when you go 5-11 against top 25 teams, you're 11
Exactly.
11 on the road, you're 19-10 in the SEC. You don't have to attack Brian Kelly personally. You can look just at the facts and say what may be acceptable and good at some schools is not what LSU has come to expect in
Exactly.
rich tradition that is LSU football.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, we've talked about this before with James Franklin. What he did at Penn State did not work for Penn State, so they sent him packing. If he would have stayed at Vanderbilt, and his last 12 years or whatever it was would have looked exactly the same, there would be statues on West End of James Franklin. Because so it's all about the program and the expectation.
Yeah, and this was another reason this was the right time is you're basically going to see a dramatically different roster next season.
Hmm.
Kelly said before this season that this was the best team he's had at LSU. So he put the bar up, he put the pressure on himself, and
Yeah.
now 3 losses before November.
Yeah.
Uh, the number one transfer haul in the country. But if you look at the recruiting classes, they were slipping. They kept getting that they're not quite as good each year of Brian Kelly's tenure.
Hmm.
So this was a good time to do this because you're getting into the recruiting cycle. Uh, Brian Kelly with the recruiting slipping a little bit at LSU, the inability to do much with the transfer portal. Uh, you don't want to put hindrances out there in trying to recruit talent to LSU. LSU is a brand, and
Hmm.
so I think what we're going to see in this that even though Kelly needed to go, you're not going to see a big shakeup in their commitments already because people commit to the university more than they commit to a coach, and so
Great point.
I think. I don't think we're going to see a big upheaval like at some schools where a coach is fired and you see all these decommits and I think LSU is going to be fine recruiting wise, but this was a decision made looking at the future. Like, how do we move forward from this? And I don't know what it was. It just always felt off, Darren.
Right.
I'm not sure that, I don't know if Brian Kelly ever appreciated how big and important LSU football is to the people in
Mhm.
this state. Uh, I don't know if he ever did or not. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm totally misreading that. I
Well,
never met the man, but
friend of the show, I mean, he doesn't know it, but friend of the show, Josh Pate, we think he's a friend of the show, but he said in one of his reaction videos that I saw over the last couple of days that he felt like part of the disconnect was Brian Kelly never really understood just how important the L in LSU was. He
yeah.
never made that connection of exactly what it meant to everybody in this state. And I think that's a great point. And basically, what you were saying is a great point.
Yeah, it's a matter of connecting. Look, he didn't have to fake or try to put on a fake image of who he is. We knew him coming down here. He's a northerner, not ever lived in the South before, so he didn't have to try to fake an accent or try to fake that he's
Right.
Southern. And that wouldn't matter to people. Joe Burrow is from
Mhm.
Ohio, and
Exactly.
Joe Burrow is revered in this state and loved deeply because of what he did. But he never came down trying to be someone he wasn't, and I don't think people were asking Brian Kelly to do that, but I think they were asking for him to embrace the culture and to treasure it, to realize this is a
Mhm.
pretty amazing place. It's different from anywhere I've ever lived, but this place is amazing. And
Absolutely.
for those of us that live in Louisiana, we know that, and
Yep.
I don't know if he ever got that part of it.
Agree. Agree completely. I think that very much speaks to the disconnect that you were talking about. It's well said. All right. So the difficult part is acknowledging that you're in this transition time. Coach has been fired, but that also puts us in a place where we have to talk a little bit about the future. So I have some questions, a couple of true false questions, and then I also want to throw some names at you. Okay,
Yeah.
that are potential, that are possibilities. Of course, we don't have any inside information, but we're just what we're seeing, the chatter. These are possibilities. So, true false question number one: true false. With the LSU job now being open, this is the best opening in all of college football, best head coaching job that's available in all of college football.
Yes, no question about it. Three of the last four coaches have won national championships at LSU. The talent runs deep. The brand is a national brand. Absolutely.
Well said. Well said. True or false? The very first thing Scott Woodward should do is drive to Alabama and set up camp in Nick Saban's parking or Nick Saban's driveway and force him to say no to coming back to LSU. True or false?
It might not be safe for Scott Woodward if he drove to Alabama.
He
Uh,
might need to do a Zoom.
Maybe he can reach out somehow. I say true with this caveat. I think it's very unlikely Nick
Right.
Saban gets back into coaching, but there's a Bible verse that says you don't have because you don't ask. So
There you
if
go.
he asks and Saban says I'm flattered, but I'm staying retired, you haven't really lost anything. It might be a good idea if they ask Saban to help them in the search. Like, would you be part of this process with us? Saban's a good judge of talent as well as character among coaches. And you think about
Absolutely.
how many coaches have been fired at other jobs and they came to work for Saban to rebuild their career. I think at some point you definitely reach out to Nick Saban.
Great point. That's and having him as a consultant, that's a very well thought out. I like that a lot. Good call. All right, five names. I'm gonna say the name and then you react, and we'll just run through five very quickly, rapid fire. Okay. Number one, John Summerall.
No, because the same reason that LSU didn't look at Billy Napier. Coming from a smaller program, yeah, Tulane's doing well. Summerall's doing good, but no.
Side note, side question, real quick. Do you think there's a little bit of a thing of the people in Louisiana won't really be bothered that they don't look at him because there's that little bit of that's the LSU little brother. We're not going to go grab their coach. That's kind
Yeah.
of a thing. Do you think that's definitely part of? Nobody will be jumping up and down and say, "Why did you not go look at him?"
Yeah, especially the people, the Tulane fans.
Yeah, yeah. They won't have a problem with it at all, will they? All right, Lane Kiffin.
He's got to be near the top of your list. I think when they hired Kelly, that Kiffin really wanted the LSU job.
Interesting.
Now he stayed at Ole Miss because resisted. I know he's looked at Florida in the past, and they're coming after him now. His children have a big impact on his decision. I think the last go around, it was his daughter that said she didn't want to
Mhm.
leave Oxford. He's got a son that is playing high school football there. He may not want to pick up and leave. So Kiffin's matured in that way. I
Yeah.
don't think if his family says absolutely not, we do not want to move at all. I don't think Kiffin's going anywhere. But if he does go somewhere, I think LSU probably has the best shot of landing him,
That makes sense.
unless his daughter and Whit Weeks break up.
Yeah, that would be awful. Well, I was headed
Awkward.
there, but then James Franklin.
No, 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 not a good fit. Franklin didn't win the big games at Penn State, and that's the knock on Brian Kelly at LSU.
Hmm.
5-11 against top 25 teams. Uh, you're getting someone very similar, maybe different personality, but in terms of records and in comp, you're getting someone very similar. So no, Franklin's not a good fit.
Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh,
Bringing the force to Baton Rouge. What do you say?
you watch his press conferences and you think he might be able to fit in at LSU. His
Yeah,
former defensive coordinator Blake Baker is already there,
already here. That's right.
so it might be worth talking to him. He's done very well at Missouri, and which is one of the smaller SEC schools and probably one of the smallest budgets.
Yeah.
But he has proven to be successful there. A lot of these guys, it could be a game changer for them because LSU gives you resources that you don't have hardly anywhere else. You have a few that would match those resources. If you're looking at out of SEC schools, Ohio State is one that can match the resources.
Hmm.
But yeah, overall, I just don't know. I don't know how Eli would handle Baton Rouge compared to Columbia, Missouri.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns would be that size difference as far as how it affects the spotlight that's on you. Because I do think we have seen some times in the past where he didn't necessarily respond real well to stuff that was happening in Missouri. Questions that were asked, the way he responded to reporters, people on the field. So, I think that does have to be a little bit of concern, but we all grow and mature, and I'm sure he has as well. But
Yeah.
I agree. I think when you see what he's done in Missouri, unless you're able to go grab like Lane Kiffin's your guy, I'm going to go get him, and you do, I think you have to make him tell you no. Just by seeing what he's done in Missouri, I think you have to have the conversation.
Yeah, and one of the things that also is going to play into this, Darren, is LSU wants somebody that is going to come to love LSU and
Absolutely.
being at LSU. I think was it Peter Burns that said that today that he thought Brian Kelly liked being the coach, but he didn't love LSU like Coach O loved LSU.
Absolutely.
Saban came from up north, but he came to love LSU and the people. You could
Hmm.
say the same thing about Les Miles.
Yep.
That's who they're looking for. If you just get another guy in here that's got this long pedigree and he just wants to be the LSU coach,
Yeah.
it's gonna flame out. You want
Exact
someone that's
same.
going to come to love the people. Coach O is so LSU. That's the mentality you want. Where he was approached and saying, "We need to make a change at coach. Here's the buyout we're going to give you." Coach O has famously said in retelling that story, his response was, "Which door you want me to walk through?"
Right.
Because for him, it was all about what's best for LSU.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of loving LSU, one more name. Well, actually, before we get to one more name, I've seen Clark Lee's name on two or three lists. Uh, we might have an issue. I'm just telling you now. Anybody you can talk to in Baton Rouge, you need to go ahead and get out in front of that. He's off limits. All right, I've got that out of my system. I feel better. What about Joe Brady?
Yeah, I think you explore that. When the way that college football has changed now with teams having general managers, somebody that's got the college and NFL experience, that might be a guy you want to take a long look at. Joe Brady, of course, was here in 2019,
Mhm.
that great year. He's been in the NFL. Yeah, I think you at least talk to him. Another guy is Calvin Shepard up at Detroit,
Yeah,
um, who's a LSU guy.
I was going to say, obviously loves LSU.
Yeah, you give. I think you give these guys a call. You feel people out. Scott Woodward has the reputation for swinging big,
Yeah.
and a couple things can happen when you swing big. One is you knock it out of the park, which he did with the hire of Jay Johnson and the hire of Kim Mulkey.
Hmm.
But sometimes you miss, and it gets ugly when you miss, like the case of Brian Kelly and what we've been hearing and watching this weekend.
and he's 0 for 2 swinging big football coaches at A
Yeah.
and M and at LSU. So
Yeah.
maybe you moderate that a little bit if you're him in
Well, that's why
this
you bring
approach.
in someone like Nick Saban as a
That's a
consultant.
great point. That's a great point.